Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I welcome you all to the DNA show. This is your host Anirudh, along with my best buddy Dev.
Hey Anu. Hi everyone. Welcome to the DNA show. Thanks for sticking around with us. We hope you are all in a mood for another stunning episode.
We indeed had a lot of fun recording so many episodes, all thanks to the Manic Pod studio. And today we are going to talk about yet another beautiful topic with a person who has been my boss twice, my mentor, and my friend Nikhil. He graduated from IHM Goa, and to add to the twist, he has been working with one of the largest banks in the world for the last decade. I welcome you to the DNA show, Nick.
Hey, thank you so much, Andy. Dave, so nice to see you.
Hey Nikhil, welcome to the show. So guys, I want to steer the conversation to a topic which is very close to the two of you. It's the BPO experience, right? Or as most of us know it, the call center experience. I'm very curious to understand your perspectives. Most of us have either read the popular Chetan Bhagat fiction, One Night at a Call Center, or have probably watched the movie based on it. But I'm sure it is like that Mark Twain quote, where truth is stranger than the fiction. And Anu, since Nikhil is our guest today and also your ex boss, I'm sure you wouldn't mind if I gave him the privilege of going in first.
Yes, for sure.
So, Nikhil, how did you land up with a bank after graduating from one of the top hotel management institutes in India?
That's a great story, at least for me.
Yeah, please.
So, right after my graduation is when we had the 2008 meltdown,
Yeah.
and this kind of dates me to be a fossil. But yeah. So,
We all are.
during that time, we really had to figure out a way to have more stable income. And during that time, an opportunity came where we kind of just happenstancely got into a BPO. Not the one that Andy mentioned, but the one prior to that.
Okay.
And it was a good place to start off, making me really happy that at a pretty young age I was able to provide for my family.
Oh, very nice.
And to add to Nick's point, he's calling me Andy because that's my pseudo name. Like,
Yeah,
we
I
all
know.
have pseudo names in BPOs.
Yes. So, Andy, then coming to you, I will continue calling you Andy on this show.
I don't mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
that's-
So, Andy, coming to you, you had similar beginnings, right? You
Yes.
started very early working at a call center.
Yep.
How did you land? How was that a career choice for you?
So I was doing diploma in animation back then, and I had like 2.5, 3 hours of classes, and the rest of the day was like, a very chill day for me. And I
Okay.
thought, why don't I do something productive?
Okay.
And the easiest job to get, like after passing out of high school, 12th, is to probably work at a call center,
Okay.
because all you need is good communication skills, and I already had that.
Hmm.
Plus, I think Jay was working with the recruitment firm that time, and they had a requirement for a voice process. So I
Okay.
just casually went there for an interview. Like, let's see what happens. And I was like, okay, I landed the job. So,
And did you sort of have an exit strategy, or you went in just to
no,
make
no.
money?
So it was part time for me.
Okay.
I started with in 2008,
Mhm.
and it was like between 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. So it was like good 5 hour thing. And I was like, it's okay, it's just 5 hours of the day, which is what do you do in the afternoon, right? So yeah, I mean, I just started that, and so it was a banking process, and
Mhm.
I kind of fell more towards the banking side of business that time, because that's when you realize how dark a place can get, right?
Yeah. So, okay, Nick, coming back to you, right? Uh, Landed up at this place after graduating, very young, very innocent sort of a person, right? That's how usually graduates were those days. Today they aren't. What was your? I mean, I know I'm taking you 15 years back down the memory lane, but what was your first thought when you walked into that office?
Let me be honest, right?
Yeah.
Paisa mil raha hai. I mean, that was the thought.
Okay.
And at very young age, hardly 21, 22, right?
Hmm.
having the ability to not ask money from your parents came with a lot of freedom of choice, and that was pretty addictive, at least for
Okay.
me. And that really stems into building a false sense of confidence that I can be everything and anything in this world.
हाँ, मैं कुछ भी उखाड़ सकता हूँ.
Huh. So that is where I kind of really got addicted to having that surrounding, constantly having that income. And that's how it kind of happened.
Got it. So typically, what encouraged you to continue doing living in the dark day in and day out? And I literally say living in the dark, right? I mean,
Yeah.
what sort of work timings did you have then?
So it started really well, really human. So we used to
Very, very nicely put.
so we used to begin our day at about 12 in the afternoon. Ideally, great time to start when you have a hangover. And you kind of wrap your day around 12 at midnight.
Okay.
Again, a great time to end up, just going to bars. So I
Correct.
think that leads into that endless cycle where, you get gratification of being in sales. And, at the end of the day, everyone kind of all gung-ho about you. And you take that same excitement to the bar, have some fun with your friends, and start your day next day.
And it works very well into that age, right? Where
Yeah.
you have
Yes.
no other responsibilities.
Correct.
You sort of getting that admiration and respect at home, because at this young age you're able to fulfill your own dreams and support the family at the same time. That sort of adds to this whole fun of this beautiful life.
And I
Correct.
think I have a point to add. Whenever you're starting working at a call center, right, the first 3 months are basically your honeymoon period.
Okay.
Because the first
the
month,
training period.
the training period.
Okay.
Yeah. So what happens is, like, you go through a VNA training.
Mhm.
So depending on the country that you'll be working with,
And
right,
what is a VNA training?
voice and accent.
Okay.
So they'll kind of give you a download of what the culture is like. It could be American, British, or whatever. So they kind of play some recording to make you understand what kind of voices will you hear over the phone,
Okay.
right? And to begin with, like, it's a very kind of scary experience, because you're actually listening to a different accent. You need to understand it and respond, right?
Correct. And respond in that accent? Probably.
No, that's not needed. So
Okay.
generally, I mean, they tell you that all you need to do is understand and respond back. That's about it, right? And post 1 month is when the actual process training starts. So whatever process that you'll be working with, whether it be IT, banking, anything, right? So that's like a tough period. You actually get to know the inner operations of whatever field you're going to be working with.
Okay.
So
And you're not studied anything about that field, right?
not at all. Imagine
Whatever you learn is those 3 months.
Yes. So to give our listeners a little perspective, you have a credit card for over 10 years. Say you're a banker and you had an issue with your card, and you're picking up the phone. Someone who's just passed out of 12th
Yeah.
has answered the call, and he's like, my statements are not right and this is not right. So it's kind of overwhelming for the person on the other side.
Yeah.
Right? Because there is so much to learn, so less of a time to actually grasp it and respond in a very professional way.
And I'm sure it's not easy, right?
It is not easy.
And
think-
this is for both of you, Andy and Nick.
Yep.
How difficult is it, or how does a young mind feel when there is so much of responsibility, as a 22 23-year-old who is just graduated, does not have any knowledge about the financial sector, and suppose you get into a financial process of something sort of what Andy mentioned, right? Where you have to handle queries related to credit card statements. Now, for someone who graduated from a hotel management school, and because I am from the same cloth, I understand finance is not a huge part of the hotel management education. How do you basically challenge yourself to deliver on expectations when you get into this sort of a role? Because from all the conversation that I've heard from the two of you in the last whatever minutes, it's it's being a decent paid job. There will be certain expectations out of you, right?
Yes.
You are handling calls and queries from people who are of a certain caliber.
Yep.
So they will expect you to deliver on certain levels of standards and qualities, right? How do you deal with it, Nick?
It's pretty easy, and it's a very strategic way you kind of approach it.
Okay.
And this is from the business side rather than from the person who is really trying to learn. Think of it as you have just started to really get into seriousness, because that's what, once you join a new company, that's what you feel, right? You feel like you want to do really well. Second is, in a way, whatever is required for that specific company or that specific role, they kind of compress it into a 1 month learning course
Okay.
where you have similar things, right, when you are in college. So think about it. College will be a 6 month to a year's process for one semester. Over here in BPO, it would be a 1 month process where everyone will be very interested to push you, encourage you, and educate you at the same time. So you pick up a lot of non-transferable skills, which kind of make you really good at that one job.
By non-transferable, you mean technical skills?
Yes, skills that you can't really take from one job to the other. For example, one company has a certain policy of return, the other company has a different policy. Whatever your expertise are in that one company, you cannot pick it up and take it to the other company. So those are your non-transferable skills. So you get a lot of non-transferable skill download in that 1 month, and they kind of keep you hooked on by taking you out on trips.
Oh, okay. Before moving on to that part, I just want to take 3 steps behind and bring this question again on table. And what exactly is a BPO? We all know the full form, which is business process outsourcing, right? Or a call center. What exactly is a call center? What is the job of a call center executive exactly? Any of you can take a hook on it. Andy or
Go
Nick.
for it, Nikhil. I've talked enough.
Okay. So BPO is a very broad term, and what industry I would say I belong to is basically call center.
Okay.
Let's call it what it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the call center world is basically a cheaper resource in a different country, which kind of supports your core customers where they are not dissatisfied.
Okay. You will have to elaborate a little more.
Basically, being available 24/7 for someone.
And it's largely offshore?
It's largely offshore. And I'll tell you why I use the term they're largely not dissatisfied. So there are certain countries that some country would have a history with. So giving you an example, right? If I, as a company, who is based in India, and I have people supporting my customers from probably Pakistan, right? The customers, some of them would not really be comfortable talking to them, right? So that's the reason why they rather choose India.
Okay, let me put a question again in there, because that's something that hit my mind. Does the customer know where he's calling to, or who is going to receive his call?
Largely, yes.
Okay, so if a customer is calling from US, he knows that he's going to connect with a desk in India.
So India and Philippines being the major 2 players in the call center market.
Okay.
I think call centers for India boomed in early 2000s.
Yeah.
And soon after, like 2007-8, we had the Philippines in the game, because India being the largest English
So there is complete transparency with the customer as well. He knows the person who is receiving his call is Andy, but that's not his legal name. Yeah, he knows it. That's not his legal name.
Yes.
And customers are pretty fine with that.
It also depends process to process. Some processes are very stringent on giving your first name, and then you tell that, this is what I'm going with.
Hmm.
So if you're comfortable, you can call me this.
Hmm.
I think there are certain places where by law you have to mention where you're from. I think it does follow, right? Yeah. So,
Hmm. Okay. So, Nick, because you have worked at a leadership level, even in the call center industry, I would like to understand from you how does a call center basically manage to get young people into the fold day in and day out uh, and churn out amazing quality? Because I'm sure if the businesses have been running for last 20 odd years, there is quality, right?
Yeah.
Because here you're not just competing with businesses within India, but you're competing with other countries for business.
I think to put it across this way, Dave, it's basically your backbone, right? Your customers is what makes your business. So you need to ensure that you give out the best to your customers.
Yeah, so just wanted to understand from Nick on how does a company systematically work process wise on delivering quality day in and day out. I mean, it's not easy, right? You're hiring 10 people every week. You have to train them, get them to the level, put them on the floor, and expect them to deliver numbers. And especially at an age which is very, very raw, very tender. Uh, I'm sure at that age the human minds are still more shapeable,
Yeah.
but it's not an easy job, right? How does that process work? And I'm specifically throwing this to Nick because he has worked at a leadership role and
Of course.
he has a better insight into this side of things, right?
Yeah, I think just to add to it, I think Nick, I think first you should talk about attrition.
I think we'll come to it
Yeah.
as a second part, Andy.
So I think the call center world doesn't get, the pat on the back, in my opinion, that they deserve when we deliver. When we deliver this objective. Here's the thing, right? You have to look at it from a perspective of, what are the stages that an employee really goes through once that person is onboarded, right? So once a person is onboarded, the first is I don't know anything about the company. The company doesn't know anything about me.
Exactly.
And I want to create a good impression. So that is the mindset that most of our candidates come with. When they come with that attitude, right? A proper structure of encouraging, uh, constant motivation, and then giving them that skill set kind of helps them become really good at the role at the start. A second aspect to it is refining your systems. There's a lot of investment these call centers do when it comes to making their systems what we call, in a slang, idiot proof.
Yeah, robust, basically. Yeah.
So they do not let you make mistakes. So one is they give you the information right up front. They tell you what to tell the customer. And then it takes you through the entire process so that the customer's query is completely resolved. Now, for example, if someone says that I have not received my statement, and if I go to the application where the customer's information is there, and I click on this topic, which is customer did not receive my statement, it will have 10 steps that you follow right from the start to the end, which kind of does the troubleshooting piece and resolution. Now, because it's so brilliantly formed, people are able to kind of really give their best or navigate right from the start. Now, for a person, right, who really seeks a job right after graduation, it is, that most of the people are pretty mediocre.
Yeah, hence this whole discussion came up, right?
Yeah.
It's very difficult. Yeah.
Correct. And what a person who has been a mediocre really craves is to be treated as a topper. And that's where the entire structure of recognition, making it
Yeah.
simple, and kind of, like Karan Johar type celebrations, that is somewhere where really BPOs and call centers outshine. Now, which company takes about 1,500 employees who are these youngsters every 6 months to a club.
Okay.
And it's for the business, it's a small expense,
Yeah.
keeping in mind that they are paying lesser to an employee here in India as compared to the same employee in United States
Correctly.
or
Correct. Yeah.
say Great Britain or say Australia. So they are saving on that money. Partial of that, is your making you feel good fund. So they will spend it in things that you really find joy and admiration in. And that's where you kind of get your motivation to really do well. A simple thing, right after the training there is a graduation ceremony.
Oh, for
Yeah.
every batch.
For
Yes,
every
for
batch
every
there's a
batch.
graduation ceremony where there'll be people within the team that will perform. They will give certificates. You'll have senior leaders who kind of lead Mumbai come for 15-20 minutes, stand over there and congratulate the entire batch.
Wow. So it's not just celebrating mediocrity, it's glorifying it. And
Yeah.
why I say that is because I come from a very different stream of life, right? Uh, I I went through the traditional route where I graduated from hotel management. I always knew I wanted to get into marketing and sales side of things. So I went on to work with a startup, then so on and so forth. So hence I come back to my point that it's not just celebrating mediocrity, it's glorifying it and publishing it in a way that people find themselves to be one in a million.
Yeah.
And I think I had a point to
Yeah.
add to Nikhil when he talked about cost, right? So since I had this startup of running a call center, right?
Exactly.
I was shocked with the numbers. So to give you an example, a person getting paid for the same job in United States would be somewhere around $35 to $40 per an hour.
Yeah.
The same thing here would be less than, so the company will get around $8 to $10, right? And the person who's actually doing that job will hardly end up with $1 or $2.
Yeah. And that's the margin that they're making. See,
Yeah.
I have no qualms about the revenue model, right?
Yeah.
They are into this business because it makes money. And I'm a pretty clear capitalist that way. People have to make money for the others to have employment, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just had to tell this out to our listeners to just give them, a depth of
Yeah.
what the costing is like. Yeah.
Yeah, but you brought up a very right point, Anirudh. Andy. Since you have run a call center business yourself,
Yep.
I'm sure commercially it was very viable, right? Hence you got into it at the first place. And we discussed about how robust these processes are built.
Yes.
And somehow you brought about the point of attrition earlier in the discussion.
Yes.
Is attrition like a big challenge? And I will like to put this question to you first, Andy, and then we can take it to Nick. Is
Yes.
attrition like a big problem?
It is. So what I had was like a very small startup, which was based off of 15 people. And, to motivate them, right? I had daily cash prices, free breakfast. And, you have to come up with these kind of strategies for them to, kind of do your work.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Because for them, they are at, what kind of facility am I in? What am I getting in rewards?
So at the age of 23, 24, I mean, under 25,
20,
they still have this awareness that this is how the workplace should be. These are things that I deserve, right?
So look at it from a different angle, right? When you started off in hotel management, you would have had a dream of working with X hotel. The same way, I think even the call center, companies have different giveaways. Right? So you start somewhere low, you gain your experience, then you go to a better place and you kind of reach the pinnacle.
Yeah, but why do I ask specifically about this is because when I graduated from hotel management college, I had spent 3 years and good amount of money to get into that career. And it was a career choice.
Yep.
Is call center a career choice for people? Is it something that they think of doing all their life? And Nick, I'm putting this towards you. So when you got into a call center, did you think that this is going to serve you all your life? Or was it a short-term gig to a bigger, larger purpose?
It's always a short-term gig. So most of the people who kind of land up into this career, right? For them, it's a very short-term goal to kind of have some issue resolved in a
Okay.
time frame of say 2 years or 3 years, and have plans for further education or switching their career to something that they really like.
Okay.
So this is a play. So it acts like a a
Financial
placeholder.
band-aid.
Yes, a financial band-aid for a short period of time, which is very very sustainable, even if your plan changed from 3 years to 5 years.
Okay.
True that.
And I really loved your question about attrition, right? And there are a lot of companies that reward people with cash. Now, the ones that Andy was talking about, right? The pinnacle of call centers. So there are about, give or take, 4 or 5 companies which we can call the pinnacle in Mumbai of call centers. The rest are not doing that well. Now, there's a reason behind it.
Okay.
Attrition is never about the money.
Yeah. We have. Yeah. Please continue. Yeah.
So where these companies, these pinnacle companies, have really really shined out from the rest is by not incentivizing great performance by money, but by admiration.
Culture.
And
Kindness is not cheap.
yes. So that admiration, you have brilliant leaders, someone which 25-year-old will get the opportunity to meet a CX level leader in a forum who resides in US.
Oh. So Firang.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
someone who leads an entire arm of the business. When I say an arm of the business, like complete operations for banking,
Yeah. Somebody running $1 million business.
billion-dollar business.
Yeah. And for a young Indian, and Indians usually have a lot of affinity towards the white skin, right?
Yeah.
That's a universal truth. And added to that, if he's successful in his own area, own field, then obviously for a 25-year-old, it's a very exciting thing.
Very true.
So, okay, now in this entire conversation, what I've understood is it's a proper process of indoctrination that people come through, right? And I'm not using this word very lightly. What the process that you gave me that people come into the business with sounds like very similar to indoctrination, where people are basically trained to understand a certain culture, imbibe that culture, so that then they can serve every customer on the same cultural background. There is no room for your personal affinities. There is no room for your personal biases. And for all that, they are very well compensated. They are very well cared for and respected. Something that every 25-year-old in India was looking for at least 10 years back. Today, the world might have changed, right? With the gig economy coming up, the social media content creator economy coming up. But has it impacted the call center industry in any way?
Largely, no. So,
You still find equal number of people coming into the sector?
yes. So largely we do have the same number of people coming in. Their attitude might have changed a little.
Okay.
How they would want to get recognized might have changed. So that's where the industry constantly invests and kind of builds ahead their models of recognition and rewards.
Okay.
In these large companies, right? Recognition itself is like a pillar that you care for as a business matrix.
Okay.
So how satisfied your internal employees are
Hmm.
is also a business metric for that one call center.
Oh, which sounds extremely encouraging.
Yeah. So they do have to ensure that they are keeping their employees happy,
Hmm.
and they are providing all the required, support and, benefits to that employee.
I want to add
Yeah, Andy.
a point. So basically, look at it this way, Dev. You've come out of college. Okay, you've say you're and they won't call it call center, right? They would call it that you're working with this company, right? So
Okay.
it's like another psychological
Yeah, I
game that
mean,
they play. Like, you're working with the best bank
you're
in the
working
world.
with an international brand.
Exactly. So that's one. Secondly, the amount of facilities that they provide. They have a cafeteria running 24/7. Most of the times food at subsidiary rates. They have, transportation, which is a major thing in Mumbai, right? So imagine you're working in a shift where a cab comes to pick you up
Yeah.
and drops you. So
We all have dreamt of chauffeur-driven cars, right?
yeah, and they get it, right? So
Yeah.
it's another perk of being in that industry, because there are certain government regulated rules that you have to abide by them. Like, anyone working post 8, they need to get a drop at their home.
Wow.
Especially like, with the security guard, if, it's a lady employee. So a
I
lot of
understand.
things.
Yeah. And Nikhil, I'm coming back to you for this one. You mentioned that this career is sort of a financial band-aid for a larger goal or a larger purpose, right?
Yeah.
So what is the average time span that an individual spends in this industry?
It changes drastically from level to level.
Okay.
So if we talk about, the grassroots employees, you're looking at close to 2 years, 2.5 years.
Okay. And what happens to them after 2 years? They would rather switch into some other sector?
It all depends. So we have people who switch to different careers, who switch to different organizations. The ones who switch to different organizations do land up coming back.
Yeah.
But
That's a possibility.
yeah, because at the end of the day, right, you need to understand their skills are capped.
Hmm.
So
Oh.
the level, the skill that they can kind of show in the market and ask for a remuneration is capped. Because
Yeah, because like you said, everything is documented, right? Any person walking into that office can basically run through that process
yeah,
and start taking calls.
and you cannot take this process to another company.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
Other company
and-
will have other process.
Yeah,
Exactly.
so those, you're not developing any transferable skills, right? You're not getting better at engineering cups or engineering engines,
Yeah.
right? Because that experience you can take from one company to
To
other.
other, yeah. It's a
right?
transferable
And
skill.
I think
Yeah.
that's where monotony kicks in, right? The reason why Nikhil said 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Think of it like first 6 months you're still learning. There's
Yeah.
a learning curve. A year you're getting good at it, and then that following year you've done it. You know it all.
The dopamine hit starts fading away.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're like, "Ki, this is just how I'm just doing this for a reason. I mean, that's about it. It fades away, and I think that's the reason people move to a different process, to different lines.
And so what I understand from this is the higher the people go, the longer they stay.
Yes.
Like any other industry, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
If people keep growing, they will keep working there. And at what age would they peak out where there is no way out or there is no way ahead? Is that sort of a phase?
Yes. So
Okay.
primarily, at least for me, right, personally, I think the biggest drawback of a call center is working nights.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't do that after a certain age, right? Because
I mean,
first of all, it's screwing up your body clock.
yes.
It's screwing up your social life,
Yes.
and you just are disconnected with the real world.
Yes. So, what I feel is like, personally for me, once I had Shived, right, that's when I realized that I can't do this night anymore. Like taking care of the baby, going back to sleep.
And that was how
work.
many years after you started working?
that was a good 8.5 years.
Okay. And did you have a plan then?
Yeah, so personally, I always stuck to call centers or BPOs. That was always in the financial background.
Okay, so it was a
Yeah,
conscious choice
it
that
was
you
a
made.
conscious choice where I knew that I had to be a part of X industry to know various
Wow, beautiful.
processes.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, and then move to wherever I want to. So
Hmm.
that's how, that was like a personal thing for me. But yeah, I see a lot of people jumping in from industry to industry, which doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, so typically what you did was you stuck to one industry,
Yeah.
uh, built up some transferable skills
Yes.
so that whenever you decide to jump ship, and not just jump ship but jump oceans, you were ready for it.
Yes. At
And-
least I knew the entire financial system of how it works, right? From mortgages to cards to banking, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I know how a certain bank works, at least the operation sides of it. So that was my gain over 10 years.
And Nikhil, since you have been, Anirudh for a long, long time, do you think a lot of people think this way?
Not really. So they do have the aspiration for it, but there is no metal behind.
Okay, they don't want to make the effort towards it.
Very true. It's because you are so comfortable, right? You get about 5 to 7% increment every year by doing the bare minimum, clocking in 9 hours, going back home, living a chill life.
But is it bare minimum? And what is that bare minimum?
I have some bit of
No,
difference of
I have
opinion here,
really
yeah.
heard interesting stories from Andy on this. So
Yeah.
I want people to get a hang of it. Okay, how would a day look like, Nick, in a call center executive's life? You will walk in, you punch in, and now your day starts. How does it look like now?
So you're in a day, on an average, you would be picking up and speaking to anywhere ranging from 40 customers
Okay.
to about 120 customers, depending upon what part of the business you support.
Wow.
So for customer service, you will speak to a lot of customers because your conversation time is really small.
Correct.
For departments where it's more to do with lending
Technical side of things.
or
Disputes.
or fraud, right? Those are longer conversations. Those would be your 30 to 40 calls in a day.
Okay.
You're basically doing a repeated task. And because it's a repeated task, by its design, it should become second nature to you.
Okay.
That's where the term bare minimum comes in place. So because you're getting an X amount, you are expected to deliver the bare minimum, which is laid down in the contract once you sign it when you're onboarded.
Okay, and they take it seriously.
And they take it pretty seriously.
So regardless of what day you had, once you're in office, you have to switch off everything else. Like I sorry, but Nikhil, I'm just taking over. I remember this conversation, like when I had to come for work, when someone had died, right?
Oh, someone had passed away. Yeah.
Someone had passed away, and I was not in the frame of mind to work.
Yeah.
But knowing that the nature of the work, you had to still smile, right? And that's like a difficult task to do, right? Where you're forgetting whatever you're going through in life, and you're delivering that.
So it's like the show has to go on, right?
The show has
Yeah.
to go on.
That's the attitude that you need to carry to work.
Yes.
But what would happen? So you log in, so either that's what I've understood from Andy over all these years. Either it's inbound or outbound, right?
Yeah.
And if you're inbound, you're supposed to receive 40 calls. You don't receive calls. What happens to the bare minimum? If there's an incoming call, I don't receive it. What happens?
Let me try to understand the question.
Yeah,
So
please.
if there are not enough calls
Yeah.
that kind of come in, then basically it's a chill day at
No,
work.
it's what I meant was I see, because
I
I'm
think
not from
you're-
the industry.
Okay.
I am trying to put it from a layman perspective. It's like I get 10 spam calls on my mobile phone, right?
Yeah.
I can silent it and forget about it.
Okay.
Now I know it's not as easy as it is because you're getting paid to receive these calls. But can somebody just avoid them? Or
Yeah, you do have people who kind of try to bend the system to, to not work as hard as possible, which is human nature,
correct.
right? So there are some systems in place to kind of stop that at some level. Does it happen? Yes. Is it encouraged? In no way, shape, or form. They kind of make a big example out of it.
Okay.
So although it's not something that you're supposed to talk about, but people do come to know why you get laid off.
Yeah.
And that's by design. And once you kind of know that someone is laid off for one thing, and people tend to stop doing that, because by the time you have invested 3 years in an organization or 2 years in an organization, you've got that call for your credit card, you've got that call for your personal loan, you've had that opportunity to go for a trip to Goa,
Your Tinder is updated.
your Tinder is updated. Now you have expensive choices in life.
Yes.
So you are kind of in a bind.
And you have a social profile to carry around.
Yes.
Yes.
So you are in a bind.
Which I think is the underlying foundation of all this. Right?
True.
And then basically that builds onto the pressure, right? So the person will try to juggle his social life, his personal life, and his work life at the best that he can,
Yeah.
which is again common with most of us, but especially in the call center, because there are such stringent environments that you're working in. I've heard from Andy that there are certain times that you can take a break. Coming from a sales background, I have spent all my life on sales field. In sales, on a sales field, yes, it's a difficult life, but you have no boundaries. I can have a 40-minute lunch. I can have a 4-hour lunch. If I deliver on my targets, nobody's going to question me. So, how is the life behind that curtain?
It's difficult. But
Yeah.
I want Nikhil to answer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
obviously.
It's pretty difficult. And it's a tough job. So call center is not something that is for everyone,
Yeah.
right? But enough loans will make you do things.
They make you do things from in any field.
Exactly. And on a typical day, you get the companies get paid for each employee by hour.
Okay.
So although an employee would get a monthly salary, he's technically paid by the hour.
Okay.
Now, because you're paid by the hour, even your breaks are paid for.
Oh, so the productivity is basically measured at a very granular level.
Very granular.
Okay.
So a minute in, minute out is seconds in, seconds out is what I would say. So there are 3 breaks you get. And some companies would give you a 4th one. All in all, it's basically a total of 80 minutes to 90 minutes.
Total breaks.
Total breaks in your 9 hours.
In a 9-hour shift.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your first break will be 15 minutes. Your second break will be, say, 40 minutes. And your third break will be 20 minutes. It's spaced about 2.5 to 3 hours. And it's by design. Because every person
Needs to take a break.
Needs to take a break
Yeah.
after that much time. So there are a lot of studies that are done of human behavior. The policies that the company kind of lay down is to cater to those biological needs and those
Psychological, emotional needs,
needs.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's how they kind of break the breaks down. Now, because your productivity is monitored at such a granular level, right? It's even kind of posted on the board, right? So if it's posted on the board, your performance for the world to see, right? You would want to put your name at least not in the bottom 5.
Shit. Okay.
So every day, what was your performance yesterday is put on a board.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It's that public.
And then the entire team sees.
Well, you know what? This reminds me of that scene from Game of Thrones where they say, shame, shame, shame.
Exactly. And when a team kind of, there is something called as the team of the year, which
Okay.
is on all the matrices, how well a team has performed, we kind of celebrate that team.
They have their posters on the
Yeah, so
walls
again, a part of the rewards and recognition.
Yeah. So in that race, right, there'll be few people who would really would want to win that. There are few people who are like मिला तो मिला नहीं मिला तो नहीं
जिसका
मिला.
डोपामिन खत्म हो चुका है.
हाँ. And there are few जिनको like कुछ फर्क ही नहीं पड़ता. उन लोग like हमको चाहिए ही नहीं.
हाँ, well, people who have spent long time in this business.
But it's the beauty of a team, right? When you have people around you and they see how much you're pulling the ship ahead or you're pushing the ship behind, right? You are treated the same way within that small group. Now think about it, right? I'm doing night shift. I don't have a very close knit of people.
Correct.
Apart from the people at work to kind of go back to who would kind of validate my existence. The only people who are going to validate my existence are from this organization or people similar to this organization.
Yeah, this circle.
This circle. And because of that, most of the people push themselves harder to achieve a common goal.
Okay. Very deep thought.
Yeah.
It's a very deep thing. I remember, when you talk about the breaks, when I was doing part-time, I had this break of 20 minutes and 10 minutes.
Okay.
So 10 minutes, we had to walk out of the floor, take an elevator, go down for a smoke and come back. It cannot be 11 minutes. It has to be 10 minutes. So that's the kind of life, we live.
And this question is to both of you. Does at any point of time one think कि यार नहीं करना? आज मैं 10 मिनट पे नहीं जाऊंगा.
It happens, and that's where managers come in.
अच्छा.
क्या हो गया बेटा तेरे को आज? क्या हो गया? मूड नहीं है तेरा? चल अपन. We'll have a conversation.
So what that is, when you see someone kind of really, either had something at home or they really had a bad day.
Yeah, they're just human. At
humans,
some point, the tolerance will break, right?
Yeah. So there is something called as a coaching time scheduled in your entire week.
Coaching time.
Yeah. So, what generally managers do is they tell them like, hey buddy, either use this coaching time to develop your skills or do so well that I can take you down for a cup of coffee
on this coaching time.
Shit,
this is dark shit, man.
Yeah.
This is crazy shit. This is taking me into different places now. This reminds me of very systematically manipulating somebody's psychology to a level where they have no way forward.
Now let me tell you this. For example, I give you 3 breaks.
Okay.
One is of 15, one is of 40, one is of 20. Okay, I give you these breaks. You are abiding by that every day. And as a reward, I give you additional 15 minutes in a day.
Wow.
But ideally, you've not really had anything else but that 15 minutes. But that becomes really valuable for that one person on that one day.
Yeah, it does.
Which triggers an emotion of,
कि ये इंसान कितना अच्छा है.
हाँ, ये इंसान कितना अच्छा है. But they forget that, it's the system is making you do this.
Now you know, right, why I called it indoctrination.
Yeah.
I mean, this is really some crazy psychology shit.
And I think I also have a question to Nikhil about this, right? When you're at a manager level at a call center, you do a lot of micromanagement, right? You need to speak to your agents, your fellows on how their work is and what's happening in the family round. So, Nikhil, I know being a manager at that level is a very dark place because you're trying to handle your team who sometimes don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
You're trying to handle your managers who wants everything out of it. So, how has that place been for you?
I don't know if you remember our first conversation.
This was
years back.
Walk down the memory lane.
Okay. So if you remember, I got a book and I asked you a few questions.
Yeah. Now I remember.
One of those questions was, if money was not the factor, why do you choose to come to work every day?
Yes.
And that answers your question. You need to identify
Yeah.
at
What
a,
is the motivation?
what is that personal
Person's
motivation
motivation.
of that person. And for some people it will be their family, for some people it will be career enhancements, right? And if you remember all our conversations after that, I think for you it was your family and your career.
Yes.
So I always started my conversation with, hey, how is everything at home?
Yes.
This is some Bond villain level shit, dude. I'm being very honest with you. I mean,
And-
for an outsider, it
Yeah.
looks damn creepy.
Yeah.
And imagine doing that for 15 people, right? 15, 16.
And for so many years.
15 to 20 people, and you kind of keep doing it. And although, at some level you see it as probably it is so dark, so indoctrinated, right? It's like helping people who
Yeah, I
don't have
understand.
any other avenues.
I understand.
Right? If I know for a fact that if this employee doesn't perform, his contract says he has 1.5 months before he gets thrown out.
Yeah, now I completely understand where this comes from, right? A bunch of average people need a place to thrive.
Yeah.
And this is something that reminds me of my ex-boss. He told me a very beautiful thing once, that the world needs average people.
Yeah.
If everybody is a performer, the world will just collapse. You need people who are able to follow basic commands. The world needs a lot more of them. People needs leaders, right? You need one leader over 100,000 million followers. So I think this is a good space for the people who don't have large ambitions, who have very basic necessities for life, and who aren't in a privileged position.
Yeah.
For them, it's a perfect place to thrive.
Yeah.
And if an ambitious person lands up in this job, he will basically use this as a financial band-aid to propel his career into a larger space.
Yeah. And in some cases, people are even encouraged to grow within the space.
Yes.
So what that company will do, so if a company is, say, a tech company, they would give avenues to these employees who are basic graduates to learn technology development.
Okay.
They would sponsor their education.
Oh, so they would do all that.
Yeah, they would sponsor your education
nice.
to kind of, help you develop your
Skill up,
skills
yeah.
and skill you up to a place where you're able to increase, your income. What that does is, one, it creates a sense of affinity towards the organization because इसने मुझे रोटी खिलाई,
हाँ, exactly.
हाँ, और इसी ने मुझे बिरयानी भी खिलाई.
Exactly, yeah.
So they started with roti
हाँ.
and they promoted it to you to biryani.
Biryani.
So that's how they design it. And there are a lot of these people, at least in India, that I have seen, right, who need something to hold on to for their dear lives. People who come from really, really underprivileged places
Yeah.
and who don't have any other means but this company. And no other company and no other business will pay an employee as well and give that employee the level of respect that they would find anywhere else in the world.
Very well said, Nick. Very well said. Andy, any thoughts from your end?
All I am thinking of is the biryani. You remember the biryani we had at 4 a.m.?
Yeah.
So we used to have weird dinner
Dude,
breaks.
this man can think nothing beyond food.
Yeah, very true.
That's me. So, since Nikhil told about the break timing.
Yeah.
Once we had a dinner break at when we were doing the Pacific time.
Yeah.
Our shift started at 12:30 at night. And then we had a dinner break at 4:30 in the morning.
Wow.
One day we decided to order biryani.
Hmm.
We had like I don't know, like a tapela full of biryani that we finished, 5-10 of us, and that particular time, to be awake at 5 a.m. in the morning.
And eating biryani.
And after eating biryani and working. That was the most
God
difficult
save
part.
your body.
No, and it's a very tough spot to be as a manager because I used to get these bums cups of coffee every 5-10 minutes. Like, and I used to keep walking. Arey bhai, tu jaga hai na? Kuch leke aun?
No, so I have a closing comment here, guys. When we started this episode, I was under the frame of mind that call center is a very dark place. It's sort of an inhuman place to be in, right? And that was my personal thought. I have never worked on a call center floor. I have never stepped into a call center organization. So, as a complete outsider, what I have read about, what I have seen, my whole thought was, this is not the good place to be in. But talking to both of you today, I don't know what the audience connects with. What I feel is my perception is sort of changed. I understand that it's not the best place to work and not all places are great to work.
Yep.
But like all things in life, this has its own positive side. The only thing is you need to understand for yourself on how do you want to place and plan your career for the long term.
Yes.
Yes. At the end of the day, you need to take responsibility.
Correct.
Of your life. And if you are someone who is irresponsible with your life, you will find a dark side of the call center. If you are someone who really wants to excel, you will find either a way out or a way up.
Yeah. See, I know we haven't spoken about a lot of things within the call center world, right? And we can only compress in so much in this span of time. We will come back with another blockbuster on this topic, and I want both of you to be ready for it. I think this is good enough for today. I want people to think over it, digest it, and be ready for the next one whenever we come back with it. I hope you guys are both in line for it.
Yes, we are. To the listeners out there, please ensure that you go to our LinkedIn, to our Instagram page. Sorry, LinkedIn.
LinkedIn तो update कर ही देना.
हाँ, वो तो अभी हो रहा है. अभी इतना career बात हुआ तो LinkedIn आ गया. But yeah, just follow on our Instagram page, the DNA Show India, and do let us know in our comments how you like the episode. If you relate to it, if any of you guys worked for BPOs or call centers, do let us know what you feel.
Thank you, Nikhil, for being here. Thank you for enlightening me. That's on the personal note.
And thank you so much, bro. You've always been there for me. So another one for you. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to this episode. And do come back for the next one. Thank you.
And that was Dave and Anirudh, your hosts for the DNA Show. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to rate us on your streaming platform. This episode was recorded at Manic Pod Studios. Your executive producers are Ankita Dwivedi and Jayashri Pisharadi. And your sound engineers are Rohit Das and Mainak Chakraborty. The production for this podcast was coordinated by Arnav Dogra. Stay tuned in for more exciting content.